And this latest book that you have coming out is like a master class. I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the book. I mean, obviously it covers the things that we just talked about as well, which is love and health and money. But yeah, just curious if you could tell us more about it.
I think the reason for doing this book was to be focused on each of the most important subjects for people and to go into each one deeply at a deeper level. And in The Secret, all of these subjects are covered in The Secret book and in The Secret documentary. And you basically have everything there also that you need. But if somebody is having difficulty around money or something around relationships or something around health, then this book is amazing because it just means that you can really, really focus and use all of the practices because it's very practical. So you can just use all of the practices centered around that one thing that you want to resolve. And yeah, it's been, I think, for that reason, it's really great for people because they can be, they can just be single-minded, single-focused on that subject. And because it's unlikely that people would want all subjects at the one time, but want to, change all subjects at the one time. Maybe they do. When I discovered The Secret, I wanted to change all of those subjects. But my life was in tatters. My relationships were wrecked. I had no money and I was really sick. I had no energy and yeah, I think it's really wonderful for that reason. And it was always something that we're going to do and didn't sort of get around to doing it. So it's really great to take law of attraction, take a deeper step into law of attraction. And, it's not hard. Like, actually, I'm just keep delivering this, keep delivering the same message to people, all of the time and just in different forms. And that is, please just think about what you want, please. And don't be lured into, thinking about what you don't want.
Yeah.
Don't be lured off in tangents and everything like that because it's just so harmful to us. So
There's a blog post on your website where you talk about
mm,
the importance of letting go of fear. And I guess maybe this is one of the last things I wanted to ask you is that fear, it's something that it just permeates everything in our world. And especially nowadays, I mean, you put The Secret out, was the first movie on the internet. Back then, though, it wasn't in our pocket. Our kids weren't on it. There wasn't the social media. And now, fear is what gets people's attention, and everyone knows that. And so everything leads with fear. And so everyone's walking around in their day now fearful of so many different things. And I was wondering, you said before that great line, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. I think it's that old, I don't know if that was Kennedy or
mm-hmm.
Johnson line. But how do you get people to think about fear or process fear or let go of fear?
Well, for a start, if you're fearful, then you're going to attract fearful events and fearful circumstances, and you will attract more fear. So if you're fearful of the world, then you're just going to rake in so much evidence of things to be fearful of, and that's just an awful way to live. It's horrible, really. And actually, all through history, fear has been used to control people. Dictators, and they have threatened all kinds of things. To the way that they have power over people is through fear, and it is interesting because it's really fear that we're afraid of. It's that emotion of fear. And fears are strong, it's a strong emotion when not a fight or flight kind of situation, but just being really fearful of something that it's going to hurt you, or whether it's a pandemic or what it is. That psychological fear, that is something I think to let go of. And you let go of it in the same way as I was talking about before. And I'm not going to say it's super easy to do, but I did it. I did it in a situation where I had a daughter who was very, very sick. And so before I knew it, I was like in this black cloud of depression. And the moment I realized I was in depression, I knew how I'd done that. I had had one fearful thought after another about my daughter, so afraid she was going to die. And I brought myself to this place. How did that help my daughter? Doesn't. But so what I did was I then began to use the secret, which was to have one positive thought after another to feel better and gradually come out of fear. Out of depression. What was really interesting is when I had those thoughts, I could tell they had very little power behind them, because when you're down in depression, you don't have much power, which is like a self-protective mechanism, and so I knew I would eventually get myself out of it, but it wasn't fast enough for me. And so what I did was I looked at that depression and felt where it was, where I was feeling it in my body. And then I just visualized putting my arms around it and bringing it close to me. Now, anybody who's suffered from depression or that kind of darkness sort of feeling of the mind knows very well that the automatic response is to push away because it feels so awful, right? And so instead, I thought, what you resist persists. I need to put my arms around this. The moment I did, it dissolved. The moment it just dissolved. I couldn't believe it. I felt so light. And then after a few hours, it came back, but not nearly as strong. Did it again. And in 2 days, it had completely gone. And so that just shows you that when you don't resist something, and depression is fear, same thing. And so when you stop resisting something, and that was what putting my arms around it was just what I visualized, putting my arms around it and like pulling it into me. But anybody could have any kind of, visualization that worked for them. The most important thing was kind of to embrace it and not resist it, to welcome it and not resist it. And you would think in the welcoming of it, that would make it more. No, because it's the resistance that holds it to us. So that's exactly what we can do with fear. And when you can reduce fear, the very first time you do it, the fear might get a little stronger for a second, and then it'll just dissolve. Oh, it's the best feeling in the entire world. Oh, so good. And then the next time you feel fear won't be nearly as strong, and you do it again and you do it again until fear just doesn't knock on your door anymore.